The Exorcist, 1973. Some films don't need fake monsters to cause decades-long nightmares. Sometimes, all they need is the ultimate horror ingredient, which is truth, sprinkled with a dash of vomit. That's basically The Exorcist. The movie follows the story of a 12-year-old girl named Reagan who turns from a sweet kid into a possessed goblin. One day she's playing with Barbies, the next you see her, she's cursing like an angry old man with a sore throat. Doctors tried to check what the heck was wrong with her, only to realize this was a job better left for a priest. That's when the actual exorcism happens. But the real story behind this horrific tale traces its roots to a real boy from 1949. This unnamed boy was supposedly messing around with a Ouija board before strange things started happening. Scratches appeared on his body, like his skin took up graffiti. Meanwhile, the bed shook like it was breakdancing, and even chairs started moving around like they were in a scary interior design contest. When doctors checked on him, they realized nothing made sense. Priests started doing their stuff as well, even showing up with enough holy water and crosses to decorate a church, and the boy even spoke Latin, even though he barely passed English class. So when a writer named William Peter Blatty heard about this chaotic story, he added his own twist by turning the boy into a movie girl and sprinkling a bit of Hollywood magic. The result was a literal head-spinning horror movie that turned into box office gold. But the real boy grew up and lived a normal life that, unfortunately, didn't come with any of the box office royalties that came with his story. The Amityville Horror, 1979. If you're looking for houses in a nice neighborhood and notice that one of the homes seems to have a price tag that's too good to be true, you might want to skip that one out. Unfortunately for the family in the Amityville Horror, they didn't check the fine print before buying a new house in the Amityville Horror. It turned out that a guy named Ronald DeFore Jr. murdered his family in that house, shooting his parents and 4 siblings while they were asleep. He later said some voices made him do it, like how the voices in Randy Orton's head tell him to RKO innocent old ladies. A year later, George and Kathy Lutz moved in with their kids. They saw the house and bought it because the price was too good to pass on. To ensure things were normal, they even brought in a priest to bless it because they probably watched their fair share of horror movies, but the priest got swarmed by flies and ran after hearing a spooky voice. That's when things in the house got weirder. George kept waking up at 3:15 in the morning every single night. It's as if his insomnia got possessed by a scary alarm clock. Meanwhile, the house was always colder than an igloo, even when the heater was on. And when you notice the walls bleeding, that's when you should already decide to pack your bags and leave. Then George started looking like he hadn't showered in 3 weeks, and chopped wood like they were in for a long winter. Eventually, everyone started falling apart. Things were already too scary. The family left and sprinted out of the house like they were chasing an ice cream truck. They lasted only 28 days, even leaving a lot of their stuff behind because they weren't ready to risk wearing clothes sprinkled with some ghostly spices. Meanwhile, the real Lutz family claims it all happened, even passing lie detector tests. Some skeptics say they made it all up for fame and money, but the story blew up, with the house becoming a celebrity with a terrible list of scandals. The Conjuring, 2013. The real estate market can be tough, especially when there's no real way of knowing if a ghost is living in a house rent-free. So when a family with 5 kids moves into an old farmhouse in the middle of nowhere, that's a recipe for disaster, or a really good horror movie. This is what happened in The Conjuring. It starts with the Perron family moving into their new home in a rural area, and that was when things started getting messy, that even their dog refused to enter the house. Their clocks stop at 3:07 a.m. every night. Meanwhile, one of the kids keeps sleepwalking into furniture, and Carolyn, the mom, wakes up with random bruises, as if she had a wrestling match with the bed. Everything felt cursed, and no one was blaming the ancient plumbing and wallpaper, so when things already got too weird for their tastes, the Perron family calls in paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren, basically Ghostbusters without the funny jumpsuits. Lorraine is good at spotting spooky stuff, while Ed knows what to do with it. As soon as they walked into the home, the ghostly aura instantly connected with Lorraine like Wi-Fi in a home she'd been to before. They dig into the history and find out that a woman named Bathsheba used to live there. She allegedly sacrificed her baby and cursed the land before dying. After that, Bathsheba hung out in the home like a ghostly tenant who refused to leave. But she still wants to return to the world of the living, deciding to possess Carolyn. When furniture started flying, that was when they tried an emergency exorcism that convinced the ghosts staying there wasn't worth it anymore. Of course, the real Perron family happily survives the ghostly encounter. They claim weird stuff did indeed happen in the home, but they also admitted that the movie definitely added more ghostly drama. Annabelle, 2014. You'd think dolls are supposed to be innocent and harmless toys that don't do anything but sit there and be cute. But that's not the case if you have a doll named Annabelle, and the scariest part is that this doll is real and is so spooky no one's allowed near it. In the movie, however, the doll looks scarier than it actually is. But that didn't stop a happy couple named Mia and John from buying the doll, thinking it was going to be a good gift for their unborn baby. They didn't know it was a demon magnet that was about to turn their life into hell on earth. But there wasn't anything wrong with the doll at first. It was when 2 cult members broke into the house and got taken out by the cops that things started getting spooky. One of the cult members bleeds all over the doll, giving it a body count and a hellish makeover. But instead of throwing it away, the couple kept it as a souvenir for the worst day of their lives. Since then, the doll started moving around like it wanted a midnight snack. Mia tried getting rid of it, but it was clingier than a creepy ex. Whenever she tried throwing it out, it somehow found itself back into the home, like it had spare keys for the back door. The couple finally called for help from a priest who tried to stop the demon, but this evil spirit wasn't contented with living inside a doll because it wanted Mia's unborn baby. Eventually, they successfully oust the demon from the doll, allowing everyone to breathe a sigh of relief. Unfortunately, Annabelle is still around as a Raggedy Ann doll that is said to be as haunted as ever. Ed and Lorraine Warren, the powerhouse couple of the paranormal world, kept it locked in a glass box, like a collectible action figure no one should ever touch. If you also hate creepy dolls, please subscribe. The Entity, 1982. Imagine you're just chilling at home doing regular everyday stuff, and something suddenly hits you square on the chin with the force of a Mike Tyson punch. The only problem is that you can't see what hit you. That's the story of The Entity, which is said to be based on a real story. The main character is Carla Moran, a single mom who already has enough problems. Then suddenly she started getting attacked in her own home by something invisible. It's like living with an angry ghost who did its best John Cena "you can't see me" impression, and when Carla tried to get help, everyone thought she was going psycho. This story is based on Doris Bither, a real woman from California in the 1970s. She said she was being attacked by not 1, not 2, but 3 invisible things, like a paranormal wrestling tag team. One was the main attacker, and the other 2 just stood around like ghostly referees. It was clear her house didn't need security cameras, but an exorcist with a black belt and a sense of humor. Some researchers from UCLA got involved, taking photos of weird stuff in the house using their actual scientific equipment. What they got were blurry lights and odd cold spots. While nothing came out clear, the photos were weird enough to ruin everyone's sleep for a while. Meanwhile, in the movie, Carla tries everything, including therapy and scientific stuff. Scientists tried to help her by building a second house to confuse the ghost and trap it inside. Unfortunately, that plan failed, because ghosts don't exactly respect the scientific method. As for Carla, she gets attacked again and again, and the thing never even shows its face. It's like getting haunted by a mean breeze, with muscles. Winchester, 2018. When you mix a real-life haunted house story with a bit of a history lesson, you get Winchester. The movie is about the famous Winchester Mystery House in California, a real mansion full of stairs that go nowhere, doors that open into walls, and rooms that make no sense. That may sound like it was designed by an architect on drugs, but there's a creepy backstory behind it. The movie follows a doctor named Eric Price, who gets sent to check on Sarah Winchester, the widow of the guy who sold a lot of Winchester rifles. After her husband and baby died, she started building a giant house that never stopped growing. Most people redecorate after grief. In her case, she added 160 rooms. Sarah thinks she's cursed by the ghosts of everyone who died from a Winchester rifle, so she built rooms that were like ghost cages with fancy wallpaper. While some of the ghosts were nice and chill, one of them had serious anger management issues, often slamming things around and throwing furniture like frisbees. This ghost is mad because his brothers were killed in a shooting, so his idea of revenge is smashing mirrors, possessing people, and turning the house into a very angry Airbnb. But as weird as the story may be, some of this actually happened. Sarah and the house were real. The non-stop construction project was also real, but no one really knew why Sarah kept adding rooms to the home. Some say she was trying to confuse ghosts, so the Winchester movie basically built a script around that topic. Veronica, 2017. Forget the overly dramatic Spanish soap operas when you watch Veronica. It's a horror movie that sounds like something made up by one of your abuelas after drinking too much sangria, but it's actually based on a real police case in Madrid, Spain. In the movie, Veronica is a teenager, stuck watching her little siblings while her mom works. So, out of boredom, she grabs a Ouija board. To spice things up, she uses it during a solar eclipse. That's like trying to start a fire with jet fuel. Naturally, things go wrong for her. Veronica faints, and the board breaks, and suddenly she hears voices and sees shadows. Then her siblings started screaming, especially when the furniture started looking like an IKEA catalog that came to life. Things were moving on their own, and it was clear that the Ouija board experiment backfired. Soon, Veronica started attracting ghosts in the worst way possible. She wakes up with bite marks and scratches. When she started drawing her thoughts and visions, her masterpieces looked like nightmares doodled by a demon's 3-year-old child. The creepy part is that the film is based on the Vallecas case, which follows a real-life girl named Estefania, who also used a Ouija board before she got very sick. She had seizures, saw strange things, and eventually died. Her family said weird stuff kept happening in the house. Even the police showed up and couldn't explain why doors moved by themselves. And this wasn't a prank or a Halloween rehearsal with invisible wires floating around. The police report from the real case is one of the few where officers actually said something spooky might be going on. Usually, cops blame the wind or the neighbor's weird cat, but this time they wrote it down as an official record of a haunted house. The Mothman Prophecies, 2002. The Mothman isn't the kind of monster or horrific creature who likes terrorizing people in their sleep or moving furniture around like a frustrated interior decorator. Instead, he's more like your news reporter of doom. Whenever he shows up, bad things are bound to happen. And The Mothman Prophecies is a movie that's based on reported sightings of this weird creature. In this movie, a reporter named John Klein lost his wife, who reportedly saw a creepy creature before her death. 2 years later, John ends up in a West Virginia town without knowing how he got there, as if he went on a road trip where Google Maps basically took him to the spookiest town in the country. People in the town start spotting a weird creature they call the Mothman. It's tall, has wings, glowing red eyes, and a creepy vibe that belongs more in a goth convention. This thing doesn't punch or bite, instead it just appears, spooks everyone, and leaves a haunting aura that covers an entire town. Every time it shows up, something bad happens later. Now, this wasn't something the movie made up. In the 1960s, people in Point Pleasant actually reported seeing a Mothman-like creature. This went on for about a year. Then the Silver Bridge collapsed in 1967, killing 46 people. After that, no more Mothman sightings. It's like the creature only appeared to send a news report of doom before retiring. Basically, the Mothman Prophecies made a script out of this real tragedy, creating a slow burn horror story that doesn't have any jump scares or ugly monsters trying to eat your face. Instead, it's more about nervous breakdowns and tense moments with an unwanted party guest who brings existential dread and bad news. An American Haunting, 2005. An American Haunting isn't a movie about federal taxes mysteriously taking a huge chunk out of your salary. It's actually based on an infamous 1800s story about the Bell Witch, a ghost story that's centered on the Bell family and their paranormal experiences. The story starts with John Bell, a guy who makes a bad land deal with a woman named Kate Batts. For some reason, she curses him after making the deal, and that is when things start going south for the Bell family. Right after that, his house turns into a full-blown haunted circus, with furniture moving by themselves. Meanwhile, Betsy, John's daughter, turned into a ghostly punching bag when something invisible started smacking her around. Imagine trying to sleep and getting yeeted across the room by a ghost with an attitude. As things get worse, the ghost starts talking. It hates John, and it really hates Betsy's teacher. This ghost isn't just here to haunt, because it has serious opinions about Betsy's love life and John's life choices. In fact, every time Betsy gets close to her fiancé, the ghost starts throwing a temper tantrum like a jealous lover. Eventually, John dies, and Betsy is forced to break her engagement off. This whole thing is based on old documents where people swore the Bell Witch was real. The house where the supposed hauntings occurred stood long enough for President Andrew Jackson to visit it. However, there are skeptics who believe the Bell Witch haunting never happened because there are no actual records that prove it. After all, no one was keeping video footage during the early 1800s, but the movie does its best to show us what the Bell Witch documents claim to have happened.